Good morning, everybody. It's David Schonecker, licensed professional engineer with the Avanti Group in Tampa, Florida. Today, we're going to talk about metal building homes. It's a subject that comes up a lot in our firm. Something I used to do as a hobby was design steel building homes for clients and family members for various reasons. Last year, when one of our homes sort of went viral, so to speak, we decided to take a little more initiative and market our efforts, and found out there's actually a emerging market in Central Florida specifically for barndominiums or metal building homes due to population growth in the center of the state. So I want to give a little bit of introduction here. This is not going to be super comprehensive because metal building homes are a comprehensive subject, and I'll do my best to cover some of the basic topics moving forward to lead you in the right direction. First of all, what is a metal building home? Well, you can't talk about metal building homes without talking about the synonymous word that most people understand is a barndominium. Barndominium does have various definitions now, especially, but some of it comes from the combination of the word barn and condominium, where some of it also talks about just basically the barn to home conversions. Chip and Joanna Gaines actually made this famous. I believe that's this barn right here when they did that years ago. So, but in a general sense, metal building home we're talking about is one that is specifically not a wood structure, not a converted pole barn, not even a tube structure, but a red iron building, a pre-engineered steel building that is used partially for a home and partially for a shop or garage. So this is where most people start. Obviously, we Google this stuff, we come up with metal building home, and then we see a lot of metal building manufacturers actually market this stuff now. So you have a lot of good information by going to them and looking at the metal building homes that they have. You can also search Google Images to start seeing some of the more famous metal building homes that are, pretty viral, like this one right here. This is one of the ones I fell in love with when I started looking at this stuff. You'll see links to plans and all kinds of, great information, of course. I mean, just an abundance of information is available online for this as you start looking. And I would use that for inspiration, but not necessarily for final product design documents. One of the things I'll talk about later is definitely don't buy anything online. It's just not the way this process is supposed to work. So again, metal building homes versus barndominiums, just to be clear, are, we're using a pre-engineered metal building we can have hybrid structures like wood involved with it, but mostly we're using a pre-engineered metal building, not a wood structure. Like this might look like a metal building home, but it's actually mostly wood. In fact, after I investigated that one as well. Advantages. What are the advantages? Well, most people are looking for savings, honestly, cash savings. And although price inflation and hyperinflation and futures indexes for steel and wood and stuff are varying, and we're going through a challenging time right now, on average, we construct these metal building homes, somewhere between 10, 15%, maybe 20% cheaper than conventional block and trusses. And that's a big draw in itself. We also look for high volume ceilings, less maintenance on siding in terms of using metal versus stucco finish. And there's 100 other advantages that is personal to every family, basically. I grew up in the metal building industry, so I'm partial to them. I'm comfortable with them. As a licensed professional engineer, I can tell you that we overcome any obstacles anyone's concerned about with the design considerations, noise, acoustics, insulation ability, things like that. And those topics get covered in the design process with a licensed professional engineer, in our case, to educate you along the way to make sure good decisions are made. We tend to avoid any, emerging technology stuff. that complicates the metal building. One of the things that we encourage when we're doing these metal building projects is to keep it as simple as possible. Your opportunity to save money is predicated on keeping the metal building simple. The more complex the metal building gets, the more the cost goes up and you start to lose a competitive edge. So there's an opportunity there to make it your own and make it unique, but we try to do certain things to avoid a significant increase in cost. Some of that has to do with spray foam insulation, for example. That's something that is a great product, but doesn't necessarily have its play in a metal building structure for various reasons. One of the things I do want to touch on too is tube structures. So tube steel buildings, right? A lot of people, these are super popular nowadays. In Florida is a storage or backyard shed idea that's bigger than a shed, not a prefab shed, but something you put on a slab like this. I highly discourage any use of these structures for habiting, for a habitable space. While they can technically be designed, per the wind loads and stuff, these buildings will absolutely not perform in high wind conditions relative to a standard pre-engineered metal building. That's proven. I'll go into detail with it individually if you want to see it, but please don't get caught up in buying these verse tube type buildings and hoping that you can live in it. Just for various reasons, just absolutely not a good idea. After any significant wind event, tornadoes and stuff like that, you see these things thrown hundreds of yards away, and just a proven concept that they don't work. And we don't recommend these for habitable spaces. These are excellent backyard buildings, and that's about it. Kit buildings. So one of the things also I want to discourage you to do right away, and we see this a lot, is metal building homes, metal buildings in general tend to be sort of predatory. So you'll go down, you'll see metal home kits and worldwide steel buildings, and you'll think this is a great opportunity. Buy it now, buy it before you start designing your house. They take deposits, and although some of these companies are legit, unfortunately, there tends to be a certain percentage of them which are absolutely predatory, and their sales tactics are predatory. So I highly discourage you, please do not pay anybody and buy kits prior to getting your building designed per se for your site specific conditions. I don't want to, call out anybody in particular, but just want you to know some of these places, you'll look them up, you look up their address, and it's like some mobile home in Mississippi, and guy's working out of his house and he subcontracts all the fabrication, and you get into just an absolute nightmare of various scenarios. There are many local companies actually too that exist, and we can refer you to a few of them when you get closer to that opportunity. But again, avoid predatory sales tactics. So how do you get the process started? That's probably the most important thing, right? Well, a lot of people start with a contractor. A lot of people start with, online searching and buying a building and things like that. I highly recommend you start with a designer, a licensed professional engineer or architect, to guide you through that initial process. Certainly getting with a contractor just to understand your rough first cost budget, and coming up with a scope of work, including a living area and a shop area that makes sense for your budget at the current time, does make sense. But ultimately getting with a licensed professional to start your design and create your plans is your best investment. They're going to work with you, hopefully spend time with you talking through each of the individual spaces and putting this dream on paper. Once a licensed professional engineer like myself or architect puts it on paper, then you have basically a biddable set of plans. Having a biddable set of plans opposed to a napkin sketch allows the contractors who are going to be bidding it, a much better opportunity to give you a solid price. Working off of napkin sketches and floor plans you found online and things like that are, good for conversation, but they tend to just not allow the contractor to price them right. And, two things can happen. Sometimes contractors will price it on the low end just to get into the job, and then the price swells along the way to an uncomfortable number, or the number it should have been in the first place. and it's it's not a good situation for everybody. So we encourage you to hire an engineer like myself or architect to get you involved. Now, a lot of architects and engineers in the state of Florida don't necessarily have experience with metal building homes. So that's one of the things I would encourage you to look for, is someone who has some experience with it. Our firm definitely grew up in this industry. I literally spent most of my life in the metal building industry. And now I've decided to, take that opportunity to really grow this market and design metal building homes for myself, or for my contractors that are in my local network, and for other contractors throughout the state of Florida. So, and these are some examples of the ones we're in design, with 3D renderings and such. This is one going up currently right now in Lithia, Florida. That's literally under construction at the moment. So we're doing this stuff. It's a real deal. Time frame, or how to get the process started. Let's retrace that a little bit. So basically, you need to find land. You need an engineer like myself to help you do the due diligence on the land to make sure it's a buildable project, and check setbacks, flood zones, wetland impacts, things like that, septic, well placement, all those sorts of things. Once we have a property due diligence done, then we can kind of nail down and marry the building design to the property. Design experience. So when you meet with this engineer, you should be looking at, potentially like a 4 to 6 week process for design, sometimes shorter if everything's pretty straightforward, sometimes longer if we need more time to sort things out. But basically we start with the floor plans, work through the elevations. And then once those are nailed down, we'll start working on power and lighting and structural plans and building sections and things like that. But, again, looking for not a set of plans you buy online, but because those plans online cannot necessarily be used in the state of Florida. You need a licensed professional engineer in the state of Florida to sign and seal your plans. I also would not encourage you to waste your money on plans you find online. They're great for conversation, but ultimately with site-specific conditions and such, it's in your best interest to design your floor plan with your local engineer and or architect. What happens then after you get through this kind of initial design phase, it allows your contractor or contractors to take that biddable set of plans then and assign a cost to it. That way you can start to award the contract to a prospective bidder. Once you have that contract and your plans, then financing could come into place and get a bank involved, give them the plans and the contract, and you can start working through financing. That's a more comprehensive conversation as well. Excuse me, for now, I'll just say that we do not have a problem getting financed for metal building homes in Florida. Farm credit is one of the mainstays for that product. They have products for this. They will meet with you and talk about specifics. Also, insurability is often a concern. We have not found any issues insuring metal building homes. They're like any other structure. They're designed and engineered by a licensed professional engineer. Again, it's a more comprehensive subject, but it happens. They get insured, no issues there. Lastly, talk about, can you self-perform parts of it? That's a very common question. So the answer is yes. I mean, always opportunities for you to self-perform to save money. And that's one of the beautiful parts of these things. The things you can't do is, in the state of Florida, you must have a licensed trade or subcontractor for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing portions of the project. For the most part, everything else, anybody can do it under the guise of a licensed contractor, of course. And as long as it's done in accordance with plans and specifications and gets inspected. So you can see here is a project getting started with dirt work. Obviously, we don't encourage, it's hard for anybody to break free and really do a lot of their own work. So it's an opportunity, but it often doesn't come to fruition. Here's a monolithic slab being prepared for a project and stuff like that. But to answer your question that comes up often, yes, you definitely can do certain parts of it to save a little bit of money here and there. Sometimes like paint and flooring and some of the other simple odd things are things that family can get involved with and do. However, sometimes the buildings are tall, so there's equipment involved and it does get more complicated. So we don't see that often, families self-performing these things. Sometimes they have friends and family that are involved, so that's great, and especially in the trades, and you have an opportunity to save money there, or direct purchasing some of the equipment and things like that. So again, metal building homes. This is what we do. JTC Consulting is our in-house contractor, so to speak. He builds a lot of these metal building homes that come through our office. However, we do have an extensive network of other contractors, and we're looking for more. We need more contractors throughout the state of Florida, especially up in North Florida, where we can't really reach with our build capabilities. So if you're interested, contact us directly. We can be a benefit to you by doing a great set of design plans for one of these metal building homes, and sharing this great opportunity to bring these opportunities to these families that have this dream. So that's just an intro. I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that could be answered. We are here for you. If you need further assistance, you can reach out between myself, one of my assistants, Alexis, and John Cook, and my father, and a few other people. We can definitely meet with you, talk to you, have phone calls, Zoom calls, whatever it takes to kind of just lead you in the right direction. So a little bit of summary, just a reminder, please do not buy kit buildings. Please do not fall victim to any predatory sales tactics. Do not let a contractor come to you and take half down. Don't start your process that way. That's just a horrible situation. We've dug a lot of families out of that situation. We hate that. The process should not go down that way. The process should be a little bit, simpler. Meet with an engineer, get some plans going, cash roll a little bit of cost for design and stuff. And then once you have a good set of plans, you have a great biddable set of plans. Now you have a good asset to get good cost and contract from a contractor. Yes, there will be some costs. No, you cannot finance 100% of this. You definitely can expect to spend anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 to get design done, surveys, other zoning issues, initial permit costs, something like that. I mean, you could spend that much money to get the project off first base. Those are called soft costs, but do not fall victim to any predatory sales tactics. Contact a licensed professional engineer or architect and allow them to work side by side with your contractor to make a great project for you. Hope this helps. Work smarter, not harder.